right with you?
Sounds good.
All right, so in this webinar, we're going to be talking about how to turn every lesson into a STEM career lesson. So everyone on the call or that will be watching the recording later or on the phone, you are, for the most part, middle and high school educators. And I'm really excited to have you guys on the call because it shows that people like you care about helping teens make more informed career decisions. This is something very near and dear to my heart. I feel that there's so many adults, at least, that are miserable in their jobs. And my mission is to help kids be aware of what exists so that they can enter a career to truly change the world rather than just a job for a job's sake. But the first step is awareness, which is most of what we'll talk about today. So here's a couple pictures of me and my family. I show you this because A, my kids are cute, I happen to think, but also because everything that I have created in career in STEM has been done with either my kids or what I did as a middle and high school science teacher here in Connecticut, or with local youth groups, 4-H. So everything that's on my website or that I sell in my store has been tested and proven and done before with real kids. So I just wanted to start that off. I'm Ashley Pareda. I own Career in STEM. I started the company actually in 2012. It's part of a larger company that I own, which is Greater Good Consultants. I started it while I was teaching 9th graders. My students had no idea what they wanted to do when they grew up. And as a teacher, I couldn't find anything that really engaged them and helped them talk about STEM careers. So I made them, and that's what Career in STEM is today. So first of all, the opportunity. I know a lot of you probably already know this. We're not going to go extensively into the opportunity in STEM. Since most of you are STEM teachers, you know. But there are over 3.5 million new jobs in STEM within the next 5 years. So when your students are graduating, there's going to be even more jobs available in STEM than there are now. STEM workers start at double the national average. And there's a tremendous need for STEM companies. I field requests from STEM companies every day talking about their pervasive, leaky pipeline. They have hundreds, the larger companies at least, have hundreds of job openings that they can't fill, and that's true across the nation. There's over 2 million jobs that are going unfilled every year. So the sooner we can raise awareness about this and get students into STEM careers, the more our economy is going to flourish as well. And stop me anytime if you have questions. So my goal for you in this webinar is to help your students define their interests and connect them to careers. I'll be sharing what I did, which is the same content, but using a new lens. That new lens being the STEM career lens. So I know oftentimes in education, we get so many new trends and fads thrown at us. That is not my goal for this webinar. My goal is to show you how you can implement STEM careers into what you're already doing. STEM is more of a mindset rather than just STEM and knowledge for knowledge's sake. And in adding that career piece, your lessons will mirror what real STEM professionals do. So I'll start with a few examples. So when I say the same content, new lens, here's one example that I did in my class when I was working on transforming my curriculum into careers. So it was a 9th grade physical science class. We were doing potential versus kinetic energy. Typically, I would do some little labs with rubber bands, which is what that's a picture of. I still did the exact same thing. So I still taught the lesson the same way I always would have. The additional piece was the STEM career connection. So as we went through the lesson, students worked as crime scene investigators to learn how kinetic and potential energy work, and then applying that at the crime scene. So we did a fun little activity where students made people with Play-Doh, and then they had a variety of different weapons. So like a paper clip, a stapler, and a straw or something like that. And then they had to apply kinetic and potential energy principles to their Play-Doh victim. And then the partner had to decide which object created the crime, did the crime. So I didn't do anything different other than deliver the same lesson through the lens of STEM careers. So another example, this one I can show you what it actually looks like. So another classic lesson that I would always do and still do is motion, stability, and magnetic forces. So typically we would build a little thing to illustrate magnetic forces, that they were existing within this thing that we built. I still did that exactly the same way. The only thing I did was I called this an MRI machine. So instead of us just doing this lab, we were doing this lab through the lens of an MRI technician, where we were building it, we were seeing the scientific principles behind how magnetism works, and then we were connecting it to careers. So in the end, in their evaluate, they had to explain how an MRI machine works as an MRI technician, rather than the typical traditional science lab conclusion where you just explained how it works. So I hope this lesson gives you a glimpse of what I'm trying to say, is that I'm still doing the exact same thing. This is not rocket science. I'm sure I didn't even invent this, but you're delivering your existing content through the lens of STEM careers. So that was one of my favorites. Going back, another before and after. So any questions about the examples? Bill, I know you're the only one I can actually hear. Do you have any questions? Oh, I see you're muted anyway, so maybe not.
Oh, that looks great.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. All right, so trucking along then. Summary of that tip is just use a new lens. I still use the exact same NGSS standards. I still taught the exact same content as you could see in that lesson example. The only thing I did was add the STEM career. So you can do all this on your own. Again, it's not hard. It's not anything that I've invented on my own. I do have over 160 resources that I've already done this for a lot of the NGSS standards. If it's something you're interested in, I'll be sending a 10% off coupon code to everyone at the end of the call. So just an FYI. I'm not going to read all this. One thing I just wanted to point out is by adding in a STEM career component, you've inserted instant relevance into every single lesson. So even if my students didn't want to be an MRI technician, that's fine. But at least they understood that this lesson and what this content is talking about has a place in the real world. Even if my students didn't want to be a crime scene investigator, that's fine. At least they saw that it connected to real life. So adding that STEM career piece adds instant relevance. You're not trying to make every student become that in the end of the lesson, but you're trying to show them that careers connect. And if Sally is super interested in this lesson, now she knows that she might want to research a little bit more about fields in forensics, careers in forensics. So it's a starting point that adds instant relevance. So great, you've added in some STEM careers, you've added in some relevance. You have to leverage that engagement now. The last thing we want to do is get students interested, connect them with careers that pique their interest. We want to have a now what. The now what is connecting them with more tools to explore. I'll show you mine. These are premium pages, so you can't see these unless you've purchased them. But there are lots of other free ones too, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I have 5 premium pages. There is interest, alphabetical, personality, gallery, salary. I'll show you the alphabetical. That's by far the most popular. And this is just a big list. I have over 85 different STEM careers. There's 2 ways you can use this, and then I'll show you what each career looks like. A, you could use it for yourself. So say you're doing, like I was, a lab about phase changes. Phase changes, you could just look through this list. What kind of relates to what I was already going to do? Oh, physicist, physics. Phase changes is physics. So then I could click on it and see if it related to what I was trying to do. So it could serve as a starting point for you to help you connect to STEM careers. It could also serve as a research tool for students. I know when I was in high school, middle school, when I was a teenager, I had no idea. And I think a lot of kids are like that right now. And there's not a lot of good tools that you can just send them to that will engage them and want them to actually learn and explore. So I'll show you what one looks like. Say I am Johnny and I really like engineering. I'm just gonna look for some engineering careers. Okay, here's one. All of our career pages are set up the same way. It's an image of the person doing it, student-friendly definition of what that person does, virtual job shadow, which is just a day in the life YouTube video, career info sheet. These are in English and Spanish. The info sheet has everything a student would need to know to at least gauge whether they were actually interested in this or not. So salary, education, hard and soft skills. When you click the salary on all pages, it will take you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics page, which is where all this information is sourced. So a good second step if I've identified this as an interesting area for myself. So back to the career page, info sheet, and then each page also features a game or try it, where students can read about it, they can see about it in the video, but now they can actually do something with it. I think that's a big needed step in existing career resources, is to actually try it and go do something that that real person really does. So that's just a quick preview. And again, you can use it as a teacher or as a research tool for your students. So going back here, all 5 of those pages are included free with any school or district plan, just as a fresh little bonus for the new year. So recapping where we are, we've added in some STEM careers into our lessons to help increase relevance. We've provided our students with the next step. So going back, whether it's mine, one of my career pages, or the Bureau of Labor Statistics pages, like I showed at that career page, which are all free, you've provided them at least a next step, a research tool to learn more. Now we're getting into students who already know what they're interested in. I have a little message box on my website, and I get requests every day from students who say, I already know what I'm interested in. My teacher is having us use this webpage, but what else can I do? And I think if you were to talk to more teenagers, there's actually a fair amount that know what they are interested in, but there's not a lot of tools to give them the skills they need to be it. So I'll show you one last thing that I've developed. These are challenges. So I have different STEM career challenges, which are set up to give students a test drive, so to speak, of each career. So let me just log in really fast. So these are basically online courses. They feature interactive resources, videos, infographics. Each challenge features a challenge. So it's a training program, a mini training program for teenagers to give them the skills, the knowledge about careers in, for example, sustainability. I have a space camp challenge, video game design challenge, where they have to physically do something to prove that they've taken the first step towards that career. In this one, they have to choose a UN goal for sustainable development and figure out how they'd make that better. So that's what it looks like on the student side. On the teacher side, going back to that premium page, teachers also get everything they need for each challenge to implement it. So things like rubrics, lesson plan guide, all the PDFs of everything that the students are using to help them in their classroom. This part, the challenges part, has been very popular among gifted and talented programs. So students who have already mastered the information. Also popular among informal, so like after school programs, library initiatives, where the students on their own time can come and do this anytime, anywhere, to take those next steps that they may not have time for in school. So going back to our slides. So just really quick, a recap before I talk. I'll show you the pricing at the end, just for whoever's interested. But recapping is, first of all, just adding that simple career piece. Second of all, providing students a next step. And third of all, providing a next step. So it just is building on itself so that students, by the time they get to be a teenager, imagine how much different the world could be if by the time we were all teenagers, we already had an idea of what we were interested in, but more importantly, we knew places we could go to at least find out and at least start. So more than anything, I hope that you see me as a starting point for yourself and for teachers and for students. So the purpose was to give you some tips and tricks to hopefully use in your classrooms and educational programs. We do sell things, but that's not the purpose of this webinar. I did want to just show you, we are offering a New Year special where you can get everything we offer for $2,500 for your entire school, unlimited students. You also would get those 5 premium pages, the career pages. But I can talk more about this with anybody who's interested. We can do a call or email me questions. I don't want to focus on this for the purpose of the webinar. And then questions. Anybody have some for me? I don't know if I can get them from the phone or not, but I can always check through email as well. Bill, you have any questions for me?
No, it looks like a really cool product that we could definitely use.
Cool, thanks. That's great to hear.
Yeah. I set the kids loose on it, but you know, it has to pass through all the upper channels. So
yeah, and just so, I mean, I'm happy to jump on if you wanted to see more. Like I said, I didn't want to sell things on the webinar. I wanted the focus to be tips and tricks. But if you want to see more stuff or you want a guest login to kind of play around with it, I'm happy to provide that for you so you can give it a test and see everything it comes with.
I think this is Nicole. I think
Nicole.
it's a good product. The only thing I would be concerned about is pushing kids to think about, well, to feel pressure to pick what they want to do. Because there's so many, when you're in I changed my major 3 times. There's so many, I feel like they're trying to get younger and younger, which it's good to think about and to think about what you want to do. Yes. But I also don't want kids to be pressured to be like, well, you're 13, you need to pick something and go with your life.
No, not at all. I completely agree. So the career pages, that's why they're set up the way they are, so that they can figure it out on their own. Even for the challenges, let me see if I can go back. I have, for example, a STEM career exploration challenge where it's just, here's some basics and some tools to get started in looking. Or, for example, engineering, where it's still broad and general, but I completely agree. I think there are those 2 sides of the coins where you want to keep your options open, you want to explore, you need tools to do that. But also for kids who are already interested in something, there's not a lot out there to help them take that next step. So more than anything, I agree that it has to be both, but that there should be a next step regardless of where you are on the spectrum.
Institutionally, I think it matters too. Schools be different from what we do.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot of this is kind of evolving as we go, because with the rise of specialized middle schools, magnet high schools, you're right, the pressure is on to choose at a younger and younger age. If my son wanted to go to a marine science magnet school, he would have to make that decision in 8th grade. And how much do you know about yourself when you're, 12? So yeah, and I think the more tools that exist like this to help kids be aware, the better.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I'm glad that you were here. Do you want me to send you a guest login? Do you want to just take some time to browse? Whatever you guys are up for.
Well, I think we'll just take some time to browse at this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead. And then anything that you can't access, just shoot me a message and I'll be happy to give you a guest login, see how it goes. And then everybody at the end of the call gets a free resource. So I'll be mailing you a lesson plan. It's the MRI one, just so you can see what it looks like. Oh, go into yoga. All right. Well, thanks guys so much. I'm really glad to have met you, and send any questions as we go.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.